Hello there, my freshmen, and happy November. Wanted to start off today's lesson with a little devotional from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 26 and 27. It says this, "Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath, nor give place to the devil." Perhaps you've seen this verse before that says, "In your anger, do not sin." It's the same verse, same idea, different translations there. I'm using this verse today because I got angry over the weekend. Maybe you're not used to seeing me angry, either in video or in person. But specifically, over the weekend, my goal was to catch up on grading for my upperclassmen. I'm pretty on top of it for your guys' class. I just have paragraph practice discussions to grade. But for my upperclassmen, I sit down to grade an assignment, and I notice that 17 out of 50 or so, I think I have 52 total upperclassmen, 17 submitted the assignment. I got frustrated. I got frustrated that my students had fallen behind and that was putting me behind too. And I admit, when I first got frustrated, when I first got angry, I sinned. I didn't sin by hurting anything or breaking anything, but I sinned in my mind. I was so angry at myself for being behind, so angry at my students for being behind. And in the midst of me being angry at people, I remember that it shouldn't be people that I'm getting angry with here. It shouldn't be people, myself and others, that I'm cursing in my mind here. It should be this world that we're living in that's frustrating me. It's the educational system right now under COVID-19. It's the pandemic itself. It's the state of the world today that makes teaching and learning so difficult. I let that get the best of me for a moment. But then from there, I prayed to God. Thankfully, through His Holy Spirit, I was able to bounce back from that a little bit. I was able to get forgiveness for my sin, first of all. But from there, He helped me. He helped me readjust my lesson plans for my upperclassmen this week to make it work better. He helped me get some sleep. I recognized that I was not in a good place as I was grading, and I rested, and He woke me up early in the morning so that I could catch up on that time that I missed. Where it says, "Nor give place to the devil," it's this idea that when we give in to our anger, when we sin in our anger, when we let our anger drive us to temptation or to harm ourselves or harm other people, it allows the devil to take us to a place we don't really want to go. And just like we learned in chapel today, it's about trusting God with the process, that He already has a plan for what's going on, that the circumstances we're facing are things that He knows, they're things that He has control over, and He calls us to lean on Him and trust in Him, even when we're frustrated. Notice that this verse does not say, don't get angry. It says, in your anger, do not sin. We're called when we're frustrated, when we're angry, when we're hurt, we're called to lean upon God and let Him pull us through, where we ourselves would not make wise decisions. That's my prayer for you as well. Just as I was so close to making some poor decisions in my anger, I know that a number of you are probably frustrated with how the school year is going, with how this pandemic is going, with how classes are going. My prayer for you is that you'll lean upon God and find your strength to face what you're facing in there. I also pray that you will have wisdom to do your best work, wisdom to communicate with your teachers. And we're praying the same for ourselves as a staff, that we'll have the wisdom to make the right decisions on how to handle the end of this semester, considering COVID-19. And let's look at our lesson agenda here. All right, so November 2nd and 3rd, students will be able to write well-structured, detailed body paragraphs. So just like in our last lesson when we wrote the introductions for our literary analysis essay, today we're moving forward with the body. So the materials you'll need, your literary analysis essay prompt is inside of today's lesson folder. You'll need something to write with, especially if you are doing yours on paper. That's my recommendation. If you have a paper copy of your lit analysis essay, is to do it on paper and then submit it when you get the chance. Before we write our body paragraph, we want to review our introduction paragraph together. I'll show you how to access that if you haven't done that yet in your own essay prompt. Just like we did with introduction paragraphs, I'm going to record the body paragraphs that 5th and 7th hour make today, post those so that you can copy those down at your own pace this week too. In our next lesson, in our next day I should say, we're going to cover the conclusion of our literary analysis essay. Now, if you are a little bit behind on your lit analysis essay, the first place you want to check is right here at the bottom of our folder. Literary analysis essay is the virtual copy of our prompt. So if you're a full remote learner, you'll want to type in each part of your essay right there. Or you could download and print the document there. Doesn't quite matter to me. Again, if you have had me in class already, you've got a paper copy of this prompt, and I recommend that you copy down your paragraphs on paper. It'll make it easier for me to collect when I see you in class. If you haven't done your introduction yet, we're going to click into this one. And I've rearranged this folder a little bit so it goes in order. So 5th hour first, thesis statement, evidence, and then a video of our introduction paragraph. 6th hour is the same, then 7th, then 8th. Again, if you don't have the introduction paragraph written down for your essay yet, you can copy it down based on our lesson video from the end of last week. It goes 5th hour, 6th hour, 7th hour, 8th hour. Each hour does have a slightly different introduction, so make sure you're using your hour's introduction. Go back to our folder. You'll also see literary analysis, essay bodies, and conclusions. Now this one is empty because we haven't filmed any of our bodies or conclusions yet. So 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, we'll do theirs today. We'll work on it in class and I'll post them after school. Conclusions, at the end of our next lesson, we'll do the same. So as it comes to collecting and grading your essay, please know that I won't really grade them until next week. I want to give you a chance to get them copied down. You do have Friday the 6th as a makeup day to catch up on any videos that you may have missed and to get your essay fully finished. This will be the last big assignment that goes in before the 12-week grade reports. So there's not actually a whole lot going in the grade book over these next few weeks. You want to make sure that you're catching up on missing work and staying on top of your literary analysis essay. Best of luck to you as you work on your other classes today. Again, we'll have introductions ready for you at the end of the school day. Probably around 4 o'clock is when I can release those.